Cocaine Bear? I know, the movie that sounds like it was conceived by a random word generator. But like pretty much every crazy film, Cocaine Bear was based on a true story. After I saw this movie, I ran to the local Forest Service ranger station and dug through the archives to find out what really happened in Georgia in 1985. Just kidding, I googled it, but I still discovered some super wild stuff, okay? So let's set the record straight. Yes, in 1985, a black bear consumed 75 pounds of pure cocaine, and let me tell you, that coke was not diet. The bear legit ate a whopping $2 million in drugs. And no, the bear wasn't an avid partier. The drugs were dropped into the wilderness from an airplane. It all goes back to September 11th, 1985. A former Kentucky narcotics officer turned drug smuggler was bringing cocaine into the United States from Colombia. His name was Andrew C. Thornton II, a pretty loud name for a guy trying to stay under the radar. Anyway, while flying a small aircraft over the Georgia wilderness, he realized the plane was dangerously over its weight limit. So what does he do? Simple. Drop 40 packages of cocaine into the forest below to pick up later. He actually tried to abandon the plane via parachute, which unfortunately resulted in him ending up the way his cargo did. No, not eaten by a bear, but lost in the Georgia wilderness. And as for the cocaine, well, the rest is history. When officials found the bear's body and took it in for an autopsy, they discovered that its stomach was packed to the brim with the white powder. Now, how is this kind of thing even possible? Like, it literally blows my mind. No pun intended. Get this, the bear was named Pablo Escobar, which isn't the only part of this story that's a little too on the nose. Sorry, I'll stop with these unbearable puns. Last one, I promise. Like I was saying, Pablo Escobar can now be found taxidermied and put on display at a mall in Lexington, Kentucky. Like, talk about a party legend. Did you guys hear they actually used a real bear to film the action shots? Gotcha! But this CGI is pretty bear-leavable. I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. When a major motion picture needs a computer-generated bear on a drug bender, there's only one company you can rely on to do the job right. The New Zealand-based Wētā FX company. These guys are CGI legends. They've worked on tons of films, including both the Avatars, Planet of the Apes, and Lord of the Rings, which makes sense because Wētā FX is literally owned by Peter Jackson. Guys, by the way, if you've ever wanted more awesome behind-the-scenes info on all your favorite movies, subscribe to The Things, please. There's always lots of awesome movie trivia being posted, like, all the time. Anyway, I'm glad the bear was entirely CGI because having a real bear on set for this would be total chaos. Also worth mentioning here that no bears were harmed in the making of this film. A large portion of the film's $35 million budget was actually spent on their CGI, which makes sense considering the bear is literally the main character of the movie, and it's not that expensive to film in forests. And though you'd think the bear might be an obvious antagonist, Jimmy Warden, the film screenwriter, would challenge you on that. In an interview with Variety magazine, he said, "The bear's not a bad guy in this movie. What happened is a product of circumstance and everybody else's poor decisions." Wow, is this movie actually deep and meaningful? That might be the biggest plot twist yet. So are you ready for another plot twist? Believe it or not, the director of Cocaine Bear, Elizabeth Banks, had never done cocaine. She was a cocktail waitress for years, which, according to an interview with Variety, heavily deterred her from ever partaking in illegal substances. And she was also a self-proclaimed goody two-shoes, and look at her now! Though, this ain't her first rodeo. You might know Elizabeth Banks as an actor acting in movies like The Hunger Games, Love and Mercy, The Lego Movie, Wet Hot American Summer. Oh my god, this woman has been in a ton of movies. So it's so awesome to see an actor take a seat in the director's chair. They really know how to be a good director because they've probably had to deal with some pretty difficult directors as a former actor. That's showbiz, I guess. So, Elizabeth made her directorial debut with the smash hit Pitch Perfect 2 in 2015. Even if you didn't like Pitch Perfect, you gotta admire Banks's versatility as a director. She also directed Charlie's Angels in 2019, so it's obvious she's got a knack for provocative action films. And speaking of provocative, she actually got her start as an actor in a movie we've already mentioned, Wet Hot American Summer. Her choice of the song Jane by Jefferson Starship to be the opening track in Cocaine Bear was actually a secret shout out to that movie. Yeah, Wet Hot American Summer used the song Jane in its soundtrack as well. So like, what an awesome nod to the past. So besides the music of Jefferson Starship, there's another unifying trend to Banks' work.
Horror and comedy are like two sides of the same coin.
It's comedy. Elizabeth Banks is first and foremost a comedy director.
I essentially make comedies and I put them inside of other movies.
So that's a pretty big feat to make a comedy about a wild bear on $2 million of cocaine.
This is a comedy inside of a horror movie.
Seems like Elizabeth Banks has really cornered the market on this kind of movie too. And she had a seriously talented cast to make her movie dreams come to life. But before I talk about the cast, I have to go on a slight tangent about animals on drugs. Everything in this movie has some basis in reality, which I'm proud of. Elizabeth Banks told this to Variety magazine. You believe all these things could be happening, but it also tells you that it is a supercharged bear. So you're probably wondering, how would a bear on cocaine even act? Well, science may not have the answer to that yet. This isn't the first time an animal has, partied. Dolphins have been observed literally attacking pufferfish in hopes that they'll release a neurotoxin that can literally do a dolphin in large doses. But in small doses, it has more of a narcotic effect. So no, humans aren't the only creatures that do drugs. But Cocaine Bear is seriously on another level. Although Cocaine Bear takes place in Georgia, it was actually shot in County Wicklow, Ireland, also known as the Garden of Ireland. Wow. Who would have thought a horror movie could have such a beautiful setting? The cast and crew didn't have much time to stop and smell the flowers, as they were working on a fast timeline. Everything was filmed from August 10th to October 11th, leaving a lot of the action to the post-production team. Still, they did a stellar job with a cast of top-notch actors who were so stoked to be making a movie like this. Alright, I'll talk about the cast soon, but before that, I have to touch on something more atmospheric. We've talked CGI, filming locations, and origin story, but now let's talk about the music for a second, okay guys? Here's a little throwback for all you Gen Xers out there. The score for Cocaine Bear was composed by the former frontman of the band DEVO, Mark Mothersbaugh. You can really hear the DEVO synth influence in the soundtrack too. This guy, invented weird music. Sounds like a match made in heaven for such a weird movie, too. He's also done music for the classic Rugrats and a couple of Wes Anderson movies, among many others. Ray Liotta, the infamous star of Goodfellas, which honestly could have been considered the Cocaine Bear of the 1990s, played a huge role in the film as well. His acting was top-notch, as usual, playing the character Sid Dentwood. Unfortunately, Liotta passed away after they finished filming in May 2022, and this was the first of his movies to be released posthumously. Ray's legacy will always be remembered as one of the greatest American actors, always eager to take on crazy and challenging roles. He was a huge star in the 1990s, playing roles in Field of Dreams, No Escape, Forced Entry, and even Muppets in Space. He's always been able to fully commit as an actor and take on some dangerous characters, and Cocaine Bear was clearly no exception. So, is this the last we'll see of Cocaine Bear on the silver screen? Jimmy Warden, the screenwriter of Cocaine Bear, might have bigger plans, according to an interview with Variety magazine. This is a story we can tell over and over again. I'd be excited to tell it because there are some really good ideas that we have for subsequent movies. Wow, who would have thought Cocaine Bear would have any sort of lesson worth repeating? She has this unique feeling of what is funny and what is true. If only Jimmy Warden could have written Mega Shark vs. Giant Octopus as some sort of moral parable. I'm just kidding sometimes. Crazy animal movies are just crazy animal movies, and that's what makes them great. What did you guys think of Cocaine Bear? Does it make you think twice before hitting the road for some #van life adventures? And be honest, would you want to see a sequel? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the things. They actually made a movie about a bear on cocaine, and get this, it's based on a true story.